This is One-on-One.
This is the Karen Hunter Show.
Welcome back to the most incredible show I've probably ever done here on the Karen Hunter Show, Sirius XM. It's called Race. I started with a notion that it's my dream that one day we would, as Martin Luther King said, deal with each other based on the content of our character, not based on the color of our skin. And my thing was, well, let's eliminate the boxes. Let's not check any more race boxes. Let's just define for ourselves who we are. Matter of fact, if you're black, check white if you want to. Let's just be contrarian. Like, that was really what I wanted to do. And as I'm listening to these stories, it's forcing me actually to take a beat and take a breath.
Man, she is compelling. That's my good friend Karen Hunter, Sirius XM, the Karen Hunter Show, Channel 126. How you doing?
I am awesome, actually. It's the best I've been. And I'm extremely happy. I'm blessed. And my God, thank you for having me here today. I'm so proud of you.
We have history.
Yes, a little bit, just a little bit.
You know, it's so interesting in this business. We have different people who come in here and we connect through the media business in one way or another. It's important to be good to each other when you get a chance to work together because you got to stay in, you and I were just saying, you got to stay in this game and you got to be true to yourself. Talk about that. Because you're true to yourself all the time. I was listening to you the other day on Sirius.
You know,
I said she is just always true to herself.
I'm channeling a 99-year-old woman. You know, when you get to that age where you don't care what people think and you don't care how people view you and you just are really authentically who you are. I'm 99 right now in my spirit. And
you look 28, but go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a birthday recently. But no, it's the toughest thing because you're going to run into people who want you to be X, Y, or Z. They want you to be less of this, more of that. You know, they want you to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, look a certain way. Don't say this, don't say that. I remember I did a pilot for one of these networks, and a friend of mine was in the room, and one of the producers said, oh, she's going to be trouble. We won't be able to control her. And, you know, when I thought about that, I'm like, why would you want to control somebody?
Funny word.
Yeah, who is bringing a perspective to your airwaves that doesn't exist right now. So, you know, it was very clear early on that I would have to cut my own path to be where I am today.
Describe that show.
This show, the Karen Hunter Show?
Let everybody know.
It is unfiltered, it is unapologetic, and it is all about empowering the people who listen to it. You know, I'm a teacher at
Tell
heart.
everyone where, yeah.
I teach at Hunter College. I've been a professor there for the last 13 years. My goodness. I am getting old.
No, you're not. You're getting wiser.
I taught at NYU. I taught in Harlem, high school kids on Saturdays, and so that's my nature. So most of the show is about educating our audience in a way that's entertaining and also very, you know, thought-provoking at the same time. I just want people to get up from their seats and their comfortable positions and do something.
Karen, you and I have talked on and off the air about race for a long time. We've co-hosted programming together. We've also been, I remember last time we did something on MSNBC a while back. I don't even know if I would call it a point-counterpoint, but we were on together. Are we getting any better at talking about and dealing with race? Any better? As people?
You know, I said President Obama is like America's black light. You know, the black light that you shine on the stuff to see where the filth is, you know, that you can't see with the naked eye. His presidency, his election has shown America's filth that's underneath the surface that we couldn't see without the black light, and he's the black light. So are we getting better? I think we are forced into having these conversations, which we weren't having before. We had President Obama. He's given, I think, 3 tremendous race speeches on the heels of Jeremiah Wright, most recently after the massacre in South Carolina. And it is forcing us to have to look at ourselves as Americans to determine what we're going to be in the future. And I think it's an important dialogue that we have to have. We've never had it.
So when our great friend Tavis Smiley here in public broadcasting and Professor Cornel West and others challenge President Obama and argue that he hasn't done nearly enough for and in the African-American community, you say?
I say, A, they're not wrong, but I think their motives can be questioned a little bit. Okay?
Because he didn't show up to certain things?
Yeah, you know, feelings are hurt.
Is that inside baseball?
I don't think I think people know that. I don't think it's a secret.
Who may not know that.
So, you know, they didn't get invited to, being, you know, they weren't at the Super Bowl parties and stuff, you know.
So you don't think it's as intellectual or as rational?
They have a point.
Okay.
They have a valid point, but unfortunately, sometimes points get undermined when you don't deliver them properly or when they are couched in something that is, unnecessary. So yeah, they have a valid point. But then I ask the question: Who made President Obama do something more? And I challenge black, quote unquote, I'm putting up air quotes, black leadership. What has the NAACP demanded of President Barack Obama? What has the Urban League demanded of President Barack Obama? What has the National Action Network demanded of President Barack Obama? What has the Rainbow Coalition demanded of President
You're talking about Jesse Jackson also? You're talking about Al Sharpton?
I'm trying not to do the name game.
No, I know. Well, those people had those, they are those organizations.
Yes,
They're the brand.
So the question is, President Barack Obama said, make me do something. The gays made something happen, and as a result, things happened for the gay community, the LGBTQ community. You have to make leadership adhere to the things that you want to have happen. You have to hold them accountable. And I think we were so happy to have a black president that, folks, were derelict in their duties in terms of what comes next. And the civil rights activists of the 50s and 60s always understood the end goal, which was to get things accomplished. And from Thurgood Marshall with Brown versus the Board of Ed and all of the, landmark decisions that happened under his watch, to Martin Luther King with all of the Voting Rights acts that transpired. Yeah.
After everything you just said, explain to our audience why you switched. You know what's coming.
Come on.
You became a Republican.
I've been a Republican for a very long time.
Okay, so explain it.
Well,
Because as we do this program, it appears, and again, it's later after, say Donald Trump is the nominee. Mm-hmm. You going to vote for Donald Trump?
Hell no. No, I will not.
You said you're Republican.
So what? This is the other thing. Labels, how do they define us? Are you a Catholic? What are you? You know what I'm saying?
I'm Roman Catholic.
Right, okay, but why?
Because I grew up Roman Catholic, I believe in the Catholic Church, and you can ask me, I believe in every aspect of what comes out of the Vatican, the answer would be no.
Exactly, and I think a lot of us have these false labels that we place on ourselves, and labels mean nothing to me. So the fact that I'm a Republican doesn't mean anything in terms of how I'm going to vote or whether I choose to vote a certain way or another. I think we become too wedded to ideology and not wedded to what it really means to be an American and what it means to serve our community and what it means to actually vote with a purpose. So my becoming a Republican and my push with my Party of Lincoln, by the way, we have an app.
Yeah, Party of Lincoln.
Party of Lincoln, you can download it in the Apple Store.
Lincoln and Trump remind you of each other?
No, not at all. Not at all. And that's the point.
I'm sorry.
So and I'm glad you asked, because the Tea Party did something tremendous that I was jealous of, because you took like maybe a couple of million people with a Don't Tread on Me hat and some tea bags, and they shifted an entire party. Not a lot of people. They shifted an entire party, moved it away from this fiscal responsibility thing to this whole social, we hate all these people thing. And I said, well, if 2 million people can do that, what could 4 million people do? Could we shift the party back to the Party of Lincoln? Could we shift the party back to an inclusive body of folk that actually care about this country in a way that Lincoln's platform did? Yeah, I think we can. So the Party of Lincoln was launched with that kind of mentality. What could we do? Could we shift the party back to where it needs to be? But you can't shift it if you're not in it, right?
I hear Hillary Clinton. You telling me that you feel that she understands everything you just said, and she is the candidate who you say represents the interests of you and other African Americans who want the things that you're talking about? You telling me that?
No, I'm not telling you that, nor would I tell you that. But what I will tell you is that Donald Trump absolutely does not represent that. Ted Cruz absolutely does not represent that.
Let's assume this airs after and it is Trump and Clinton. Let's assume that for a second.
Okay. Donald Trump definitely doesn't represent that. So if I hate the lesser of two evils, again, I vote with a purpose. For me right now, it's the Supreme Court. We're looking at definitely 1 seat being filled.
At least.
Possibly 2 or 3, right? If unless somebody did a deal with the devil or they're vampires. So do I want a Republican to choose the next 3 Supreme Court justices? And what would that change for me in my community? That's a big deal. So I don't really care. It's not about Hillary Clinton as much as it is about preserving or galvanizing the things that I think are important as it relates to the Supreme Court, which is an equal branch of government that we don't pay much attention to.
Do you like Hillary Clinton?
Do I like her? I don't know her.
Do you trust her?
I don't trust anybody.
You trust her motives?
I don't trust any of them.
What does that mean?
Because I think they're politicians.
What does that mean? They're human beings. They're running for. Are they different from the rest of us?
Yeah, they are. Because most of us don't run with the. Most of us don't run for office. I think there's a special type of person that's going to run for office.
You think they're that different?
Yeah, I do. I think they're wired differently. I think, and I think once you get under the ether of that, it becomes intoxicating. I think it's, you become somewhat of a megalomaniacal type of person. You can become a little power hungry. I think a lot of things of folk. But again, it's up to we the people to hold those folk accountable and tell them what we want. And we haven't done a good job of that.
Man left, what's at stake in this election and after?
Supreme Court's at stake for me. The soul of this country's at stake. Who we're going to be in the future. Right now, we look very ugly to ourselves and to the world. And I think, if we're being honest, do we represent all of the things that, the Constitution says, we should be thinking about, considering, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, all people being created equally, equal justice under the law, all these wonderful ideals that the Founding Fathers, even if they did not believe them, wrote them into the Constitution as an aspiration. Are we living up to that aspiration as people?
Would Dr. King be proud?
No, I don't think he would be.
He would not.
Of where we are right now as a nation?
And where we're going.
I don't think so.
Karen Hunter, you got to learn to speak your mind. Sirius XM, The Karen Hunter Show, channel 126.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Monday through Friday.
It is great to see you again.
It is wonderful to see you.
Especially in the world of public broadcasting, you're always welcome.
Thank you.
And you have a lot of us thinking, and that is the most important thing we could ask people to do.
I'm grateful
Thanks, my friend.
to you. Thank you.
Anytime.